this is Angela from Natural Living Alchemy. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be making all-natural herbal deodorant. Now, this deodorant has 8 ingredients and is completely baking soda free. We are going to be using a combination of arrowroot powder and diatomaceous earth as our absorbent. Now, the star ingredient of this formulation is one that can help with excessive sweating, and that is sage essential oil. So sage has actually been used as a treatment for hyperhidrosis or excessive sweating. Now, just know that you don't have to be experiencing excessive perspiration to use this deodorant. But if you are experiencing that, this may certainly help. Sweating is actually a natural and essential bodily function as it regulates body temperature, it hydrates the skin, as well as helps protect us against infection. When our internal temperature rises, the sweat glands release a fluid called sweat, and as that fluid evaporates, it helps to cool down the skin as well as the blood underneath the skin. Before we begin, I just want to remind you that I am not a doctor. None of what is on this channel would be considered medical advice. It's here for education and entertainment purposes only, and it's up to you to talk to your healthcare professionals before following anything that I say. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about sage and let's see why it would be so helpful in dealing with perspiration. So first off, sage is a natural astringent with antibacterial, antifungal, and antihydrotic effects, and it may be able to help constrict sweat glands and thereby reduce perspiration, as well as inhibit the growth of bacteria on the surface of the skin. So it's actually the bacteria on the skin that may help contribute to the body odor, as sweat on its own doesn't actually have a smell. Sage holds some anti-inflammatory effects and may help reduce and possibly prevent inflamed sweat glands. Now, if you were to take sage internally during menopause, for example, that could help with symptoms such as hot flashes and night sweats. Sage contains something called ferulic acid, and that has been found to increase estrogen levels in animal studies. But ferulic acid may help reduce menopause symptoms in humans. So estrogen levels are actually what helps regulate the body's temperature. Now, just know for extreme cases of sweating, or if you are wanting to see immediate results, I would suggest taking sage internally. But another way that you could use sage is you could take a little bit of dried sage, you could ground it up, and then you could actually put it in your shoe, and that would help with foot sweating. So as I said in the beginning, we are going to be using a combination of 2 different absorbents. So we're going to be using arrowroot powder, which you might already be familiar with, and another one called diatomaceous earth, and you may or may not be familiar with that one. However, diatomaceous earth is lightweight and it's breathable. It works by absorbing sweat and thereby a neutralizing odor. And another thing that diatomaceous earth does, which is really interesting, is it has the ability to bind to toxins and may help detoxify the skin as well as the pores. Now, one common absorbent that is found in a lot of DIY or home formulations, such as this one for deodorant, and that is baking soda. Now, I'm not one to say that an ingredient is good or it's bad. What I've learned is the poison is generally in the dose. But I would consider saving baking soda for your kitchen creations and leaving it out of your personal care products. So the reason we would want to avoid baking soda actually just comes down to pH. The pH of your skin sits at a 5.5, meaning it is slightly acidic. Now, this is actually why the top layer of our skin is referred to as the acid mantle. And it's the acid mantle that protects the skin. It is our built-in moisture barrier, as well as helping to protect us against viral and bacterial infections. Now, baking soda in itself is very, very alkaline. It has a pH of about 8.3. If you are constantly putting on a very alkaline product like baking soda on your slightly acidic skin, you're going to be creating a chemical reaction. And this reaction damages the natural acid mantle, and the skin's moisture barrier can become damaged as well. So some common side effects of baking soda in deodorant is actually skin irritation, rashes, dryness, but not the dryness that you would be looking for from a deodorant. This is just a different kind of dryness that is extremely uncomfortable. You could also have inflammation, redness, breakouts, skin discoloration, as well as soreness. Now, I, for one, have used baking soda deodorant and have experienced most of those things. It was one that I was using last summer, and I'm actually still trying to get over some of those side effects. So before we head into the lab, I just want to invite you to check out the description box below this video. And in there, you're going to find a few different things. You're going to find a link to the written blog article that is meant to accompany this video, and you're also going to find some links as to where you can get some of these products for yourself. Keep in mind, they are not affiliate links at this time. These are just links so that you can safely make these products on your own at home. Begin by weighing out our 3 phases, beginning with phase A, the heated oil phase. And phase A is just going to be going in a stainless steel bowl or a melting pot. So we're going to begin by adding 10% beeswax, 20% shea butter, 29.55% of a traditional coconut oil. An MCT oil won't work as well in this particular formula. And then our final ingredient is going to be 10% of a carrier oil, and this can be whatever carrier oil you're choosing to use. Mine just happens to be an olive oil infused with calendula. Next, we're going to weigh out phase B, the absorbents. So in a small bowl, you're going to add 15% arrowroot powder, remembering to hit tare before you add your next ingredient, and you're going to put in 15% of diatomaceous earth. And then you're going to want to give these a stir to mix them nicely. I forgot until it was almost time to add them. It doesn't really matter when you stir, but you are going to want to make sure that you stir them just so everything does incorporate nicely once it's time to put everything together. Our final phase is phase C, and this is our cool down. So this is going to consist of 0.15% of vitamin E, MT50 or mixed tocopherols, and 0.30% of sage essential oil. And once that's all mixed up, you're just going to want to put that to the side as well until it's time to use it. Now it's just time to add phase A to the heat. So we're going to turn it on and we're going to let everything start to melt nicely, and we're going to keep stirring it periodically to ensure that it is all nicely incorporated together as it's melting. So as you can see here, this is where I remembered to stir my absorbent phase. So now it's just time to take phase A off of the heat and put in phase B. And we need to start working quickly from this moment, because once you take it off of the heat, things are actually going to start setting up. So once you've mixed it in a little bit with a spatula, I then like to use a bit of a whisk and just stir everything together. And you're going to want to make sure that you periodically scrape the sides of your bowl just to make sure you get all of those absorbents in the deodorant. And next, all there is left is to add phase C, which is generally something you would want to add once it's cooled down, but we don't have a lot of time with this formula, so we are just going to bless it and forget it. We are just going to add it now after it's had a second to cool down, and that's going to be okay. So just give everything a good whisking, and then it will be time to pour into our containers. once all of your containers are full, you're going to want to make sure that you snap the lids on tightly, and then you're going to allow this formulation to set up in the fridge, as it does contain shea butter and it may go grainy if you don't cool it off properly. Okay, so that is how simple that this was to put together. Now, before I get into some of the different notes and possible substitutions that you might want to consider making, I would like to talk about packaging. Okay? See, wait, I'm an influencer. You need to listen now. Okay, I'm just kidding. So, our packaging. I purchased ones that were bottom filling, and I'm just going to show you on this clear one because it's a little bit easier to see because the whole thing is clear. So when I bought these off of Amazon, I almost didn't purchase them because of the reviews that were left. And that's mainly because the people that left the reviews before me did not actually realize that these were bottom filling containers. So it is very, very important that you know how to fill the containers that you are purchasing. Okay. So if you do get these bottom filling ones, all you need to do is take off just this bottom portion, and that's going to allow you to pour your product into it. Once you're all done, you would just place this lid back on, squeeze it tight, and you'd be good to go. So then you would want to wait, I like about 24 hours, just to ensure that the product has had time to completely set. So then once everything is filled up, you would just take off the little plastic cover that's in here. That is a pain, but there we go. I can stay on the floor. And there you go. You have an herbal deodorant that is all ready to go. Now, one thing that I did want to try out is what happens if you didn't want to put this in a tube. What if you wanted to use a container? Okay, so that's what I did. I had a little bit extra that didn't fit in the storage containers I had, so I wanted to see what would happen. Now, you definitely could just use the container, okay, if you wanted to skip using a tube. If you did want to use something like this, I would just start by putting a little less beeswax. I'd maybe start with 1% less. So instead of 10%, I'd maybe start with 9, because it is a little bit hard, but you could completely just put this in a pot container if you did not want to mess around with filling these tubes or having to find them or source them at all. Okay, so some other notes or substitutions that you would want to consider making, maybe if you were wanting to omit the vitamin E, you would just put that amount back in the coconut oil. But just keep in mind that that vitamin E, apart from having some nice skin benefits, it does help prevent the oils in your formulations from becoming rancid, as it is an antioxidant. But it isn't necessary. It's just something that is nice to add. So if you were wanting to add a different essential oil instead of sage, you would want to first off make sure that you are following the IFRA recommendations. And then if it is different than the amount that I've suggested of the sage, you would just minus that amount out of your coconut oil portion. And any essential oils are just going to be added into phase C. Now, you could use absolutely any carrier oil that you liked. And by using an infused oil, that's just another good way to introduce more plant botanicals into your formulation, but they don't have to be infused oils. The only one that I would suggest leaving alone would be the coconut oil, because it is the traditional coconut oil, because it is harder at room temperature, and it does help lend some hardness into this product. And lastly, this deodorant can actually be used on any part of the body that you do experience sweat. So maybe you want to use it behind the knees on a really hot day. You could do something like that. So why don't you go ahead and comment down below and let me know what other body products would you be interested in learning how to make. I do have an under eye serum formulation that I've been working on for you that I will be sharing in the next month or so. So don't forget to hit the like button if you've liked this video, and share it with anyone else who you think might enjoy it. Consider subscribing to the channel so that we can spend more time together and that you don't miss future videos. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, so be sure to connect with me over there as well. But I just want to say thanks for stopping by today, and I'll see you next time.